So the Nigerian economy has slipped into second recession in 5 years, culminating months of battering and battling with the COVID-19 pandemic. According to the National Bureau of Statistics, it is the nation's second recession since 2016 and the worst in almost 4 decades. Joining us right now is an economist, Mr. Adewale Ajayi, partner KPMG Tax Energy.
When we talk about recession, we're talking about a situation where there is a slowdown or a contraction in economic activities. When you have contraction, what that means is there is confidence or loss of confidence in consumer demand. And so people are not buying as they ought to be. And if people are not buying, what that means is that companies are going to start losing money and they're going to start making losses. And if they're making losses, there is only one thing that companies will tend to do, and that would be to lay off workers. When you look at the cost of recession in Nigeria, apart from the issues in oil, right, we've been talking about diversifying our economy for a very long time. We want to go into agriculture, we want to go into manufacturing, we want to be able to produce what we eat or eat what we produce and all those things, but nothing has really happened. Right, we talk the talk, but we don't walk the talk. Right, you're right to say that one of the problems we have in Nigeria is the cost of governance. Cost of governance is pretty high. Right, when you have a situation where we have a 5 trillion in a budget deficit, and the question is, where do you get money to finance that deficit? You have to borrow. And so, but there are certain things that you can do to reduce the impact of the deficit. You have to reduce the size of government. The size of government, both at the national level and at the state level, currently is extremely high. So we need to reduce that. There is no point in...
Okay, so of course we have, as you earlier said, Mariah, a lot of people are giving suggestions on the way forward, and the former vice president gave like a whole list. And there was one that he talked about, the stimulus package, and he says like a 5,000 naira to be paid to, you know, individuals that will be worse hit by this recession. And for me, that also sounds like the trader money kind of arrangement, and I know that was heavily criticized. What is your opinion on that?
I think the problem we've had in this country has always been a question of mistrust, a question of transparency, right? I mean, you've talked about trader money or money market. I mean, what has happened in Nigeria is the fact that these are basically transfers of cash, to people. But, at the end of the day is that, there is really no accountability as to who receives this money, how this money is spent, right? But, the fact of the matter is that one of the, tested approaches to dealing with recession is for government to spend. You really have to spend money because you're saying that people are not demanding. There's a contraction, so you need to spend. But you spend on infrastructure. Right, the kind of projects that will create employment opportunities. You spend on agriculture, where it can generate, massive employment opportunities, for people. But of course, you also have the small businesses, which really are the engine of growth for the, for the sector, the informal market. So you also need to encourage that, right? But the question is, who are the people receiving this money? Are they giving it to the right people? Are they accounting for the money? So that is really the dilemma that we need to deal with in Nigeria.
Many people have shared opinion that direct cash transfer doesn't exactly solve the problem. Do you believe that just paying money to people's accounts would help them? Or should we create a food bank where people get meal packages, like the way we had the palliatives, but in a more efficiently managed manner, where those that are really in need get the money, get the food, as opposed to just putting cash into their hands? Do you agree with that?
Okay, well, yes, I do. But what I will also say is that it's a question of, who receives the money. The money that is transferred is not meant for people to use it on consumption.
Exactly.
It's meant to be able to expand their business activities.
They don't do that.
And as they expand their business activities, they're going to be doing well. They create employment opportunities.
Exactly.
But what we've done here in Nigeria is that there is no proper accountability. And so people are collecting the money, and they see that money as their own dividend of democracy.
Exactly.
So the money is not being spent for the purpose for which it is meant for.
You know how we save for the rainy day, excess crude accounts? We always expect that this sovereign wealth fund that came wasn't just time, was supposed to save money for times like these. Do you think we have enough buffer to carry the economy for this period?
We don't. I mean, that's the obvious truth. We don't have any buffer. Well, you remember in 2014 when oil price was as high as $110. What did we do with the money? We blew the money, and that is why we are where we are today. Really, we've never had buffer. We've never planned for the rainy day, unfortunately. Wow. We talk all the time about creating buffer, but we don't. And that is why we can't even finance our budget. There's a 5 trillion that we need to finance 2021 budget, and we have to borrow. And if you're up to borrow, what that means is that you're not making enough money. You're going to be spending a lot of the money that you make on interest and payment. Yeah. But unfortunately, we still have to borrow. We still need to spend.
What advice would you have for someone sitting at home and thinking, okay, we're in a recession. This is where I found myself. What are the personal decisions you think someone should take during this time to survive this period?